All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling Chapter 17 from the NSCA text, Plyometric and Speed Training Program Design. Now this is a big one for your CPT exam, for sure. But more than that, this is where we learn how to build real, honest-to-goodness, explosive athletes. If you want your clients jumping out of the gym and sprinting down the field, you gotta know this stuff cold. So let's start with the big question, right? How do we build true athletic power? We're not just talking about getting stronger in the weight room. We're talking about making your clients legitimately more powerful and explosive in their sport and in life. The answer, my friends, is all wrapped up in the principles of plyometrics. Okay, so let's get the official definition out of the way, because you'll definitely see this on the exam. A plyometric movement. Think of it like stretching a rubber band and letting it go. You have that little pre-stretch, that's your counter movement. And then, bam, an immediate and powerful muscle contraction. That tiny, tiny moment between the stretch and the snapback, that's where all the magic happens. That's how we generate so much force. So here's our game plan for this review. We're going to start with the basics, then get into the science of why this works. I call it the science of the spring. After that, we'll get super practical with program design, cover the absolutely critical safety stuff, and then tie it all together with speed training. Let's do this. First up, the science. You know, you can't build a great program if you don't know why it works. At the heart of all plyometrics is something called the stretch-shortening cycle. This is the engine behind all that explosive power. And trust me, it's a huge concept for your exam. So take a look at this diagram. This is the stretch-shortening cycle, or SSC in all its glory. It's the reason you can jump higher if you dip down first, right? It's that counter movement that unlocks extra power. Every single explosive movement you can think of. A jump shot, a punch, a sprint out of the blocks, it all comes back to this cycle. The SSC breaks down into 3 simple phases. Phase 1 is the eccentric phase. This is the loading part, where you're stretching the muscle and storing up all that good elastic energy. Phase 2, and this is so important, is the amortization phase. It's the transition, the pause. The key here is it has to be as short as humanly possible. If you wait too long, that energy just disappears. Then finally, phase 3 is the concentric phase. That's the unloading, the explosion, where all that stored energy is released. So for your exam, here's a great study tip. Just think, load, pause, explode. So where does all this extra power come from? Well, it's a tag team effort from 2 different models. The mechanical model is easy to picture. It's that rubber band analogy. Our muscles and tendons store energy when they're stretched. But then you have the neurophysiological model, which is about our nervous system. We have these little sensors in our muscles called muscle spindles. When they sense a really fast stretch, they trigger an involuntary contraction to protect the muscle. That's the stretch reflex. Plyometrics essentially trains your body to use both the rubber band effect and that nervous system reflex at the same time to create a much more powerful movement. It's pretty cool, right? Okay, so we've got the science down. We know the why. Now let's get to the how. How do we actually build a safe and effective plyometric program for our clients? This next section is your blueprint for building power. Think of this as your pre-flight checklist. Before you even think about programming a single box jump, you have to consider all of these variables. You got to analyze your client's needs, decide on the mode, like upper or lower body, and then dial in the intensity, frequency, recovery, volume, and of course, how you're going to progress them over time. They all have to work together. Now, intensity is a big one for both results and safety. And it's not just about picking exercises that look hard. It's much more nuanced. You can crank up the intensity by going from 2 legs to 1, by increasing the speed of the movement, or by jumping off a higher box. And don't forget, the client's own body weight is a factor. A heavier athlete is dealing with more stress on every single jump. You have to master these little dials to program smart. So, how much is too much? Well, for lower body plyos, we track volume using foot contacts. It's simple. Every time a foot hits the ground, that's 1 contact. So if your client does a set of 5 box jumps, that's actually 10 foot contacts, 1 for each foot landing. You can see the general guidelines here. A beginner might start in that 80 to 100 range per session, but, and I can't say this enough, perfect form is always, always more important than hitting some magic number. Okay, let's talk about recovery. This is completely non-negotiable. Your clients absolutely need a full 48 to 72 hours of rest between intense plyometric sessions. You might be asking, why so long? Well, it's because these drills aren't just taxing on the muscles. They are incredibly demanding on the central nervous system. The CNS is what tells your muscles how fast and how hard to fire. That rest period is when the real magic happens. It's when those neural pathways adapt and get more efficient. The power gains are made during recovery, not just during the workout itself.
All right, let's move on to what is, without a doubt, the most important part of this entire chapter: safety. Before you even think about having a client do a single jump, you are the gatekeeper. It's your job, your professional responsibility to make sure they're actually ready for it.
So here are your big checkpoints. Does your client have a solid strength base? The NSCA gives us a good guideline. Can they squat 60% of their body weight for 5 reps and do it in 5 seconds or less? How's their balance? Can they stand on one leg without toppling over? And are they free of any current or past injuries that would make jumping a bad idea? And a special note for youth clients: you have to be mindful of their growth plates. High impact stuff can be risky before those have closed. You have to screen every single client. No exceptions. Before anyone jumps up, you have to teach them how to come down. Proper landing mechanics are everything. You're looking for shoulders to be stacked over the knees and the knees tracking over the feet, no caving inward. The landing should be soft, quiet, like a ninja. They should be absorbing the force through their hips and knees. If you hear a loud stomp or a thud, that's a huge red flag. It means they're not absorbing force well, and the risk of injury just shot way up. Coach this first. Okay, so now we get to put it all together. Let's connect the dots between all these plyometric principles and our ultimate goal of speed training. We'll look at a real-world client to see how this works in practice. The quality we're chasing is called speed strength, and it's exactly what it sounds like: being able to apply the most force you possibly can in the shortest amount of time. The stretch-shortening cycle is the engine that drives speed strength, and plyometric training is how we tune up that engine to make it more efficient and way more powerful. So let's make this real. Meet our client, a 30-year-old basketball player. His goals are super common for his sport. He wants to jump higher to grab more rebounds, and he wants to be faster running the court. Perfect. We have all the tools we need to build him an awesome program. So here's what a starting program might look like for him. We're obviously focusing on the lower body. We'll start at a medium intensity. No need to go crazy right away. We'll do it twice a week to make sure he gets that full 48 to 72 hours of recovery, and we'll aim for about 100-foot contacts per session. And the drills? Things like standing long jumps and box jumps are perfect because they directly train both that vertical power and the horizontal force production he needs for sprinting. And this right here perfectly shows how we would progress him. You don't just throw a client into the deep end. Our basketball player is going to start with lower intensity drills, like the squat jump on the left. He's going to master that technique and build a solid foundation. Only after he's shown he can handle that can we start to move him toward more intense, higher impact exercises like the depth jump you see on the right. Progression is key. I want you to really let this quote sink in. It comes straight from the text, and it's so important. Plyometrics are an amazing tool, but they have a high potential for injury if you mess this up. Your program design, your coaching cues, your supervision, it all matters. Your client's safety is in your hands. So, to wrap it all up, here are your big takeaways for Chapter 17. First, you have to master the science of the stretch-shortening cycle. Second, use those program design variables as your blueprint for every single client. And third, and most importantly, you must always put client safety and readiness above everything else. Science, blueprint, safety. Get those 3 right, and you're going to be a fantastic coach. And that's a wrap on our review of Chapter 17. You now have the blueprint to build safer, stronger, and seriously more powerful athletes. So study it, understand it, and then go apply it. Good luck on your exam, and I'll see you in the next one. Go out there and make a difference.